It is truly an honor and a pleasure to be with all of you today. From a spiritual perspective, the perilous condition of the world today is caused at its root when we as human beings are disconnected from our true selves. With technology, the world has never been so connected externally. We have internet, social media, cellular phones, satellite televisions. Yet, today's news is predominated by terrorism, oppression, abuse, social conflict, and warnings of environmental disasters. Yet, each and every one of us can be the change we want to see in the world if we use our free will with a higher connection. The problems that we face when it is seen through the perspective of universal wisdom, we understand to see every particular challenge in connection with a holistic, larger perspective. Whatever we do, how will it affect ourselves? How will it affect the local area? How will it affect the world? Learning from the past, the present, and the effect for the future. This type of wisdom is really born of compassion. Perhaps this is the greatest need in all of human society. Where there is compassion, there's enough wealth, there's enough skill, there's enough education, because it will be provided. Years ago, I was with Mother Teresa, and she told me a very universal principle. She said, the greatest problem in the world is hunger. Not hunger of the belly. If you give somebody food, they'll be satisfied. But in London, in New York, in Los Angeles, in Mumbai, even the wealthiest persons, their hearts are starving. And that starvation creates greed, envy, arrogance, anger, only to find the love that is within ourselves can really be a solution. And the origin of that love, from a spiritual perspective, is to feel God's love and to be an instrument of that love in whatever we do. Whether we're accountants, whether we're in business, finance, politics, agriculture, or whether we're little swamis. When we have a foundation of inner peace, inner compassion, then the joy of life is not simply accumulating more and more things. The joy of life is expressing our compassion in whatever we do. Through technology, such incredible connections people have. Usually by this time in any lecture I'm giving, so many cell phones have been ringing. Wherever we are, I remember one time I was in India and I called my father. And after we talked, he said, "Do you know where I am?" And I said, "No." He said, "I'm in the 9th hole of a golf course sitting on a toilet." I said, I thought you were home. So that's how we're connected with anybody, anywhere, at any time. But look how people with very unfortunate, evil intentions are networking and spreading their cause throughout the world. And at the same time, people who are proponents of true peace and love can use the same technology. So the great need is to address our problems in a sustainable way if we want to have a truly positive effect. Sustainable means internal change has to go in harmony with external change. People's behavior, values, and philosophies need to be uplifted. In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a beautiful verse which gives us a clue of how, when we make that internal connection, we naturally realize and understand our true connection with each other and with the world around us. In Sanskrit, the verse is Vidya Vanaya Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hastini Suni Chaiba Swapake Cha Pandita Samadarshana. That real wisdom, the symptom of a real spiritual connection, is not just what religion we call ourselves, or how many verses we can cite to prove our cause. True spirituality is to see every living being with equal vision. Because when we know ourself, when we understand that divine spark of life of who I truly am, then we can recognize that in all others. We don't just see people as male or female or black or white or red or yellow or brown or from one religion or another religion or no religion. When we understand the love of God, we understand that every living being is a child of that same source. Whether one is a human or an elephant or a dog or a cat or a cow, wherever there is life, there is a sentient being who's seeking pleasure and who deserves our respect and our compassion. This is real progress in society. Progress of our level of consciousness. There are many different spiritual paths in this world. But there are 3 principles that we especially emphasize to make that inner connection. Satsang, which means to associate with like-minded people who really inspire us for that purpose. Sadhana, which is keeping some special, precious time every day to internally nourish us, to keep that connection through a spiritual practice. Maybe meditation, prayer. In our tradition, we chant God's names, these beautiful mantras. And when we chant together, it's called Sankirtan. We are harmonizing our hearts with a divine focus. And sadachar. Sadachar means our character. There's no use in claiming to be spiritual if we're not transforming arrogance into humility, greed into generosity, despair into hope, and hate into love. These are really the great needs in this world. And when that compassion is awakened from within us, it becomes dynamic, active. In Sanskrit, a word for compassion is karuna, which means directed, intelligent, active compassion that's thoughtful and committed. Paraduka Duki, my guru Srila Prabhupada used to teach. Compassion is when another person's suffering is my suffering. When another person's happiness is my happiness. And that naturally will extend to the environment, because we are all depending on the same natural gifts, whoever we are, from any nation, from any religion, from any social background. We're depending on the same sun, the same source of rain, the same earth to grow our foods, the same waters and the rivers and the oceans. Compassion to humanity, compassion to other living beings is inseparable from our compassion to the environment. At our community in Mumbai, we started an eco-village. And by doing so, we've discovered so many beautiful understandings of how connected everything really is. We walk on the ground. We learn that from that same soil that we're walking on, we can make bricks to make our homes. We've made over 350,000 bricks. We compress them. We dry them in the sun, no fire. They're beautiful, and traditionally, they could last for centuries. Water's falling from the sky. But if we're really grateful to understand the value of water, we will harvest it according to our capacity. And where in Maharashtra, there's 8 months of drought every year, if we just harvest the water when it comes, we have a tank that collects 15 million gallons of water within a week of rains. The sun, through solar powering, we can have all the facilities of the city with the power of the sun that's shining for everyone always. Of course, in England, you can't always see it. It's still always there. The earth, the ground, by growing organic, natural foods without harmful pesticides or fertilizers, food grows actually better. It's more nutritious, and the soil becomes so enriched by it. In the world, sewage is a problem. Because whoever you are, whether you're a billionaire or whether you're sleeping in the streets, still. After you eat, you respond to nature. And it kind of comes out the same way. So what to do with it? When we understand the interconnection of how the world works, then we can understand actually how there's no such thing as waste if we're conscious. Through natural processes of herbs and roots and stones, the sewage becomes very pure, clean water. And we could utilize all those facilities. All our cooking is done with the dung of cows. The idea is when we have a compassionate spirit toward the environment and toward each other, there is no end to how we can use our incredibly God-given human intelligence to make real, sustainable, positive changes toward an enlightened world. To come out of the cradle, where everything is taking and taking and taking, and growing into that mature state where we understand and appreciate the joy of giving, of loving. That is real progress. That is where we can really connect with God, with each other, and actually make the world something beautiful. Whether we do it in a small way or a big way, we all have that opportunity, and we all have that responsibility. Thank you very much.